company, one of the few times during the World Cup that Stoichkov would be goalless.
And this is because they had Rufai in goal. And Nigeria showed that they had strong defense as well as flamboyant firepower up front.
Switzerland came into this match with Romania fresh off a 1-1 tie with the United States, determined not to let it happen again. The Swiss kept coming, and this goal by Chapuisat made it a 2-0 score against the surprised Romanian team. The rout continued when Knup scored at the far post. And Knup would get yet another goal. Switzerland won it 4-1 against Romania, sending Swiss hopes high and Romania back down to earth. To watch the United States against Colombia. The United States still an underdog, but had to like the way things were going. The ball was bouncing in their favor in the early moments of the game.
And the U.S. knew that against an opponent like Colombia, it was going to have to capitalize on every break it got. And no break was bigger than this mistake by Escobar.
Playing now with confidence, part of the U.S.-European connection. Stewart from Ramos and another goal. The United States was out in front 2-0. And Tony Meola was keeping Colombia off the board. This Marcelo Balboa bicycle kick could have been frosting on a victory cake. Instead, it was the most replayed miss of the World Cup.
And a late, meaningless goal by Colombia did nothing to take away from the United States' remarkable victory. This was a huge win for United States soccer. It took them into the second round and gave them a very, very special place in the heart of sports fans all over the country.
It was a must-win game for Mexico in the heat of Orlando, having lost already 1-0 against Norway, but the heat was more conducive to Mexico's style of play, and Luis Garcia scored his first of two. This second one put Ireland in a 2-0 hole.
And on-field frustrations and sideline hot temperatures boil over as John Aldridge gets into a fight with a FIFA official about the timing of a substitution. Coming to his rescue is the most popular Englishman in Ireland, Jack Charlton. Both would pay a heavy price later on.
Aldridge would eventually get into the game and cool off with this header to bring Ireland back. At this point, it's a 2-1 game, but under temperatures hotter than Jack Charlton's temper, the Irish wilt in the heat of Orlando.
Romario leads the cheers as he comes out for this match against Cameroon and makes a wonderful run down the middle of the field, splitting the defense and touching it with great skill under the Cameroon goalkeeper.
But there's more to Brazil than just Romario. It's Marcio Santos in the air, scoring here. And from ground level, the greatness of Bebeto shines through.
And Bebeto celebrates his goal and his newborn baby as the boys from Brazil don't miss a step on their march to the World Cup.
Sweden came into this match off a tie with Cameroon. Russia came in off a loss to Brazil. Sweden was to have the better success today, starting with a Brolin penalty kick. But there's more to Sweden than just Brolin. Try Dahlin with his header. It was an eventful day for Dahlin. This was his second goal. This went into the upper corner. He later picked up a yellow card and could not play against Brazil in the next game. A matchup between Belgium and Holland pitted two neighboring countries with strong World Cup traditions against one another. And it was to be a battle of frustration and a battle of goalkeepers in this low-scoring affair. Eventually settled on that goal by Albert. But goalkeeping was needed on the other end, and it was Prudhomme making save after save, keeping the shutout and gaining a victory for his side. Prudhomme would later go on to become the goalkeeper of the tournament.
Nigeria, fresh off their stunning 3-0 victory over Bulgaria, kept their goal-scoring way with his early goal against the Argentines. And if it was the Batistuta show against Greece, it was the Claudio Caniggia show for Argentina this time around. Caniggia got two wonderful goals to lead Argentina to a 2-1 victory. Maradona did not score in this game, but his name testing.
Both analyses of the urine sample have proved to be positive. The player Diego Maradona of the Argentinian national team has therefore violated the provisions of the doping control regulations in the match Argentina-Nigeria.
For Maradona, the '94 World Cup was over. After the great victory over Colombia, the interest among American fans in this team was immense. And John Harkes almost put the United States ahead early in the game, but the post was the goalkeeper's best friend for Romania. And at the other end, a shot from near in beats Tony Meola to the near post.
Colombia entered World Cup 1994 as a heavy favorite. Instead, they went home as the World Cup's biggest disappointment, losing in the opening round, trying to recapture some dignity in what was to be their final match against Switzerland. Goals like this helped out today, but they were needed much earlier in the tournament. This goal would give Colombia a 2-0 win against Switzerland and maybe some of their pride back. But for the Colombian side, it was too little and much too late.
And their victory did little to soften the deep disappointment felt by their coach, Francisco Maturana. He resigned almost immediately. But a greater tragedy awaited defender Escobar when he returned to Colombia. His brutal and senseless murder was the ultimate price.
Spain would meet Bolivia in a game that Spain must win in order to advance. For Bolivia, no wins, not even a goal. And Guardiola would give the Spanish team an early lead. This penalty kick goal set the tone, but more was to come.
The Spaniards took this game to Bolivia throughout the whole match, found some holes in the Bolivian defense, and Caminero had a wonderful day. 2 goals for him as Spain rolled on towards the second round and lifted from themselves the high pressure that's been on them because of great fan expectations.
Despite the fact that Bolivia would score their first ever goal in the World Cup, the day truly belonged to Spain. When the defending champions from Germany took on South Korea, a lot of people thought we would see the Germans at their best, under the most heat that they had faced since their venue had moved to Dallas from Chicago. And it was the Germans who were hot early. Hessler finding Klinsmann on this great turnaround goal. More of the German attack, getting more support from players like Buchwald and Karl-Heinz Riedler on this rebound. Riedler's only bright moment of the World Cup. And if you want more, you go with your number one guy, and that's Klinsmann. The Germans were off to the races, leading 3-0.
And in the second half, it was a totally different picture. The Koreans rallied and came back and scored an early goal. They had prepared for conditions like this by training in very hot and humid weather, and they were ready. The Germans were not. They began to wilt, and giving up a lot of possession to the South Koreans, who took advantage with another great second half goal. 3-2, and the Germans barely hung on. They won, but it was yet another unsatisfying victory. This was the final match for Ireland and Norway in Group E, and this match would help determine fourth array, and Jack Charlton, Ireland's coach, was suspended for this game by FIFA for his misbehavior on the sideline against Mexico. It was a tight, tense match with very few chances for either team, and pretty safe goalkeeping at both ends. The luck was with the Irish, and when travel plans were made, the Irish were going to Orlando, the Norwegians to Oslo.
RFK Stadium was the site for this important group of death matchup between Mexico and Italy. And when Italy scored off this Albertini pass to Daniele Massaro, it was Italy in the driver's seat, leading Mexico 1-0. But Mexico would come back from just outside the penalty area. Marcelino Bernal will pull the trigger, sending Mexico into a tie and their fans into ecstasy. Mexico would win the group. Italy would advance but finish a disappointing third. The teams were Russia and Cameroon. But before this game was over, everyone talked about one man, Oleg Salenko. He scored 5 goals.
So Salenko broke the single-game scoring record, but it wasn't enough to help his team advance. Brazil and Sweden in the indoors of Pontiac. And Brolin, so skillful out of midfield, looks up and sends the perfect pass to Kenneth Anderson, whose shot beats Tafarel for the first time in the World Cup. In the second half, Romario took over with his challenging run right through the center of the defense and produced the goal that gave Brazil the 1-1 tie. So the coaches shared the joy and the points. Who could have known then they would meet again?
Up to this point, we had still not seen our best from Holland as they prepared for the match with Morocco. But it was Holland getting off to the better start thanks to the individual brilliance of their great scorer, Dennis Bergkamp.
But questions had been raised about the lack of speed in the center of the Dutch defense, and here they are outpaced by Moroccan Nader as he scores the tying goal.
But Holland would come back and score what proved to be the game-winning goal on this shot by Roy, making their crowd happy, even though they know they have still not seen the best of Holland. Holland wins the group to advance, while Morocco would go home. In a World Cup, Saudi Arabia was not only having fun, but they were getting results. In this match against Belgium, we probably saw the finest goal in the World Cup tournament by Owerek.